TV. I am the Couch Kumara, aka Clever Sausage, and every day I present new videos centered around my personal research and study of today's three major religions: Judaism, Christianity and Islam. My main two at present are Judaism and Christianity, but admittedly Christianity is the more dominant of the two, with its claims of having the facts, the evidence as proof that the Bible accounts of both the irrefutable and infallible words of God, inspired by the Holy Spirit upon man and woman. It is claimed today's Bible versions, i.e. the KJV, NIV, ESV, Good News Living Bible, Amplified Bible, etc., contain no errors, contradictions, etc. So I listen to many theologians via YouTube, rabbis, pastors, evangelists and Christian street preachers, and I go out there on the streets and actually listen to them as well. Just at this present time I don't have a good enough camera or camera phone to actually record that conversations. So if you like this kind of video, then please subscribe by clicking on the icon on my channel. Like, share, tell others about it, and add your comments below so that we can review them, because we really appreciate your comments. We actually like them really a lot. And ring that bell so you get new notifications of any new videos that appear on our channel, so you don't miss out. As I was saying, I listen to many theologians, rabbis, pastors, TV evangelists and Christian street preachers on YouTube and other social video sites, and go out on the street and listen to Christian street preachers have a debate conversation with them. I exposed their errors, contradictions, fallacies, bad interpretations or mistranslations, or outright lies. If I feel they have a hidden motive or agenda, and their true incentive is to push a prosperity style gospel to accumulate massive amounts of cash, wealth, and so forth, then I will expose them as charlatans, schemers, deceivers or tricksters, as well as those who are determined to convince in order to convert, in order to control others using deceitful tricks or cunning methods. I have experienced these people in my personal life, so I'm very aware of their subtle antics. I know what they're all about. I just get that funny feeling that they're up to something. They're up to something, right? Through this video and the many to follow, I will compare today's modern Americanized Bible versions, which are copies of copies of copies of copies of a copy, not of the original ancient manuscripts, with the ancient original manuscripts in the original ancient languages, hidden and preserved for centuries, such as the original Aramaic, or Assyrian-Aramaic, or Ashrit, Lashana Artika, or Lashana Supriya, the ancient Old Scribal language, or Old Tongue, written and spoken by the Old Testament scribes and prophets, who compiled all of the Old Testament manuscripts into one volume, one big compilation in Urhai, Kayseri, now modern Turkey, around 800 BCE. Using a native-born Aramaic-speaking translator, 15 Alexander, as a reference or source for these ancient texts translated into English. Here is a brief history of his works, his efforts and qualifications as a translator and a filmmaker, to prove that he is the genuine article. He knows what he's talking about. He's had 15 years experience of translating the ancient Aramaic scriptures and also doing film. He states here, this is on his website before it was down. I found a way legally to, let's say, resurrect it. Just I couldn't put it up online because it's copyrighted to him. I had to get his permission. He says, this is quite a while ago, I think it's about 2001, he stated, "We are living in a new age today in the aftermath of the September 11th terrorist attack on America. In the 1960s we had the Vietnam War. At that time, he, Victor N. Alexander, there he is here, filmmaker translator, was studying filmmaking at the San Francisco State University. He graduated in 1970 and for the next 5 years he lived in Norway. It was a great experience, according to him, making movies in 35mm. He shot Arriflex cameras and edited on Steenbecks. He worked on many theatrical feature films and finally directed a film in 16mm. Then he moved back to the United States, and got involved with the independent movement in Hollywood. Because apparently his grandfather or his father been like the first director of the CIA, according to him. He left and he went to Hollywood, and he did in the 1930s, I think he said it was, silent movies, and he became quite famous. He worked as a cinematographer and editor, so that was his inspiration, I guess. He worked as a cinematographer and editor. In 1985, he wrote, directed, and produced his first feature film in 35mm. In 1976, he travelled to Paris and London to shoot a documentary on Assyrian heritage in Louvre and the British Museum. This led him to an interest in archaeology and finally the Bible. Almost everything he filmed had to do with some religious symbol of ancient Mesopotamia. He documented the epics of creation, Noah and the flood, and the great sculptures of Asher, Nimrod, and Nineveh. And what I have read previously, he took these films to libraries, fairs, etc., and they all said it's rubbish, rejected it, it's not true, it's false history, whatever. He said, oh, come on, man. You know, he's a Mesopotamian-born Aramaic-speaking translator who did the true history of his country. And he says, oh no, it's rubbish, and they rejected it. He couldn't understand why. They made up stuff like the lion figures standing in front of their temple, demonic and all this sort of stuff, when they weren't. So he devoted a great deal of time to the translation of the ancient Aramaic scriptures directly into English. And that's what I'm presenting interested people out there. He said, where did he go? What happened to his sight? Is he alright? Did he die? And I found a way, as I stated, to resurrect his website. It's down the website, and I'm presenting it specifically for those people and anyone else that's interested in knowing the real truth about the biblical scriptures. He continued to work as a filmmaker whenever he could. He enjoyed developing projects with Christian themes. He believed in those times the message of Jesus Christ is the great source of peace for the world, and he hopes you'll find his web pages enjoyable and informative. I am doing this brief history of the aforementioned native-born Mesopotamian Aramaic speaking translator and filmmaker, Victor N. Alexander, because I feel one must do the research study on any scribe, writer, author, or translator's history, background, personal life, because if you don't know him, you don't know anything about him or her, and they could be masquerading as an honest person when in real life they might be a member of a really bizarre occult, satanic or sex cult or pedophile, sex ring, or false religious belief system, as I had found with the infamous Anthony Kidman and his self-help book. I've done a video previously on that. Nicole Kidman's father involved in a child-born sex ring, but he died before he could be sentenced to imprisonment. You have to be careful. See, this is why I do this. You have to be careful because they in turn may lead you or more into one or all of these sorted cults that I mentioned above. And once a member, it may be near impossible for you to escape. This also applies to these organized religions. In journalism, this method of digging is known as finding the dirt on someone. Okay? So these people claim they have the facts, they have the evidence, the proofs, and it's irrefutable or infallible. That's giving you the real truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. In some cases they may be, in some cases, in other cases they may not be. So one must establish the facts as facts by using three individuals of ancient times or modern times who have never met each other, never sat in the same room across from each other, to exchange ideas, views or opinions, compare notes, and perhaps persuade or convince the other two present to drop their ideas, ideologies, views or opinions, and fully adopt his. If the three agree literally, their information synchronizes, then one has established the claimed facts as fact, i.e. they've established the facts as facts. I remember a guy called Dr. Ali Muhammad. He actually spoke about this on one of his videos. I'll find it and I'll leave the link so you can hear what he had to say about establishing the facts as facts. Next, one must prove the claimed evidences are actually evidence, proof, by proving them irrefutable or infallible. A scribe, ancient scribe, writer, author, translator, must be proven infallible in order to have his writings deemed infallible or irrefutable, or vice versa. What he writes, states, can be debunked. It will be debunked, I guarantee it, but can never be denied, as he and his works have been deemed and proven as irrefutable and infallible. So let's compare what has been sold us as the real truth by the popular theologians and leaders of the numerous churches, i.e. pastors, rabbis, imams, Christians, and others. And let's also compare what they are saying is written in particular modern Bible versions, be it the KJV, NIV, ESV, Living Bible Good News, Amplified Version, or the Companion Bible. Let's critique and prove all they claim as fact and evidence, as fact and evidence. Let's prove it all as infallible and irrefutable against the supposed original Aramaic or Assyrian translated into English. So you are going to go here to give you some information on the ancient Aramaic scriptures. It's verification, okay? Because a lot of people out there, theologians, evangelists, pastors, Christians, all say that Jesus read and wrote and spoke Greek. This is a complete falsity, it's a complete lie. So here's a statement by the Aramaic New Testament, Old and New Testament translator, Dr. Alexander, and he states, Jesus Christ spoke ancient Aramaic, the language in which the first disciples and apostles preached and the scribes recorded the New Testament. The scriptures have been preserved in the original sacred scribal language since the Apostolic Age. Dr. Alexander translated the original ancient Aramaic Bible directly into English. And now I'm making this available to you because his site v-a.com was down for some reason, and then he got hospitalized because he was 60 or 70, maybe his meds did mess with him, and he disappeared. People were wondering where he was, what happened to his site. So I resurrected it legally, okay, and here it is. So now you can read his website, which contained the original and authentic scriptures from the Assyrian-Aramaic or Asherit, Lishana Artika or Lishana Supriya. He translated it into English and put it up on his website, ba.com. His Disciples' New Testament is a translation of the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, Acts of the Apostle and Revelation in book form. Okay, you could purchase it from him. Okay. At that time it was $20. I bought one. The Aramaic New Testament. Okay, I paid through PayPal, around about 30 something New Zealand dollars, and he was kind enough to send it to me, covering the postage and handling. And I was so grateful. You know. I'm glad I got a copy of this, but I'm just a little bit saddened that I didn't get the copy of Genesis. They're translated into English, or Birecik, okay, and the other Old Testament translation that's done. But I found his website, so I can look at all of them and study them at my pleasure. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Real Truth TV. I am the Kaskura, aka Clever Sausage, and I present videos of my personal research and study of the three major religions, Judaism, Christianity and Islam. My main two are Judaism and Christianity, and more dominant I believe to be Christianity in my choice of topic. So I expose them for their so-called established facts, their claims of facts as facts, their supposed evidence, proofs, and if I find that they have mistranslations, bad interpretations, interpolations, have some sort of hidden motive or agenda, that they're a prosperity church trying to accumulate mass amounts of cash from the gullible and so forth, or they're just telling outright lies, and they're using devious tricks to convince, in order to convert, in order to control people, and I will expose that. Okay, this is a continuation of our previous video that I put together. Okay, so we're going to have a look at some more information about the native-born Aramaic speaking translator Victor E. Alexander to verify that he knows what he's talking about. Okay, I found this and I resurrected his down website, the Old Covenant Genesis, and he states, Victor E. Alexander states here, that his translation of the Old Testament has utilised the cuneiform manuscripts discovered by archaeologists in Mesopotamia in the late 19th century AD. Here's a picture of the original Epic of Creation tablet, 1500 BC, in the Ashurbanipal Library at the British Museum, or from the Ashurbanipal Library, which was uncovered in the 1900s, at the British Museum in London. Victor E. Alexander states here that his translation of the Old Testament would utilise the cuneiform manuscripts discovered by archaeologists in Mesopotamia in the late 19th century AD. The Assyrian king Ashurbanipal, during his 7th century BC reign out of Nineveh, sent out emissaries to the southern region, the land of Shinar, Sumer, and Chaldee, Babylonia, in search of the ancient epics such as the Epic of Creation, which included the story of Adam and Eve, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which included the story of Noah and the flood. He had them translated in the modern Assyrian language of his day. However, the originals were 3,000 years older but also cuneiform. Interestingly, the stories have been preserved essentially the same. Okay, I see variations in it. The names in the Epic of Creation and Epic of Gilgamesh are actually different. The immortal who created this ark, boat or coracle, as seen on Irving Finkel's YouTube lecture documentary film Noah's Ark Adventure, where he translated from the Babylonian cuneiform text to English, step-by-step instructions from a pantheon of gods, or one god called Anu, because the pantheon of gods wanted to destroy their creation. There's a giant flood, global flood, and then they flee the planet because they were sick of what they were doing. They went against the gods or something like that. So this god Anu loved these creations, so he said to this boat builder, here's some instructions how to build an ark about a coracle, survive and carry on. So he did, and his name was Upancham, which later in the Hebrew version became Noah. And Upancham was on the waters for 6 days and 6 nights apparently, and in the Hebrew Upancham's name was changed to Noah, who was on the water for 40 days and 40 nights. So obviously there is a vast difference. Anyway, getting back to this, the Ashurbanipal had him translated in the modern Assyrian language of his day, because he was an Assyrian. However, so he had translated in Assyrian-Aramaic or Assyrian. He had them translated in the modern Assyrian language of his day. However, the originals were 3,000 years older, but also in cuneiform. Interestingly, the stories had been preserved essentially the same. Ironically, by the time of Jesus Christ, the scriptures recorded during Babylonian captivity 5 centuries before had become so narrowly interpreted that the scribes and Pharisees failed to recognize Jesus as the Messiah, prophesied by all those millennial religious records. Today, both Judaism and the Catholic Church have realized the contribution of the cuneiform tablets of the Assyri, the Assyrians, to the understanding of the roots of the Bible. The archaeologists Sir Henry Austin Layard and Hormuz Rassam, because it wasn't they had falling out over content, I believe, discovered that the Ashurbanipal library intact in Nineveh and created. They discovered the Ashurbanipal library intact in Nineveh and created the 50,000 tablets to the British Museum in London. They are the pride of the British Museum, together with the oldest ancient Aramaic Old Testament, which dates back to the 4th century AD. So there you go. There's a little bit of information from the translator's mouth. Okay, he states that he's translated from the original Aramaic, Assyrian-Aramaic or Assyrian. Okay, and here is a source. Okay, because you have to establish the facts, right, as I was stating earlier, that we've got it saved here. I don't. Okay, so we have to go there. To verify when he states that he bought the original manuscripts in Bible or book format from a priest of the original church founded by Thomas and due to the original disciples. This verifies and establishes the fact. There's 2 others saying the same thing, so it synchronizes. They've never met, they're sat in the same room, therefore influencing each other. They just happen to receive or obtain their original ancient manuscripts from the same church. Okay. So here at this site, the AramaicScriptures.com, translator Andrew Gabriel Roth, who is a Messianic Jew or Christian Jew, states, this website features the Holy Aramaic Scriptures as preserved in the ancient Eastern Aramaic text of the New Testament, and such manuscripts as the Yonan, Kaboros, 1199 Horton Codex, and the Mangana 148 Codex. You can read and study it there. It gives as literal as possible a rendering of this holy biblical text in a fresh, accurate, and literal English translation. So what he's done is he's taken it from the original Eastern Peshitta, the Syriac Peshitta, avoiding the Western Peshitta and others. But here is the head patriarch at the time in 1957, Mar Ishai Shimon, testifying about it, but the original manuscripts given to the original Church of the East, this Church of the East, with reference to the originality of the Peshitta text. As the Patriarch and head of the Holy Apostolic and Catholic Church of the East, we wish to state that the Church of the East received scriptures from the hands of the blessed apostles themselves in the Aramaic original, the language spoken by our Lord Jesus Christ himself, and that the Peshitta is the text of the Church of the East, which has come down from biblical times without any change or revision, so they haven't messed with it. Mashi Ishai Shamun, by Grace, Catholic Patriarch of the East, April 5, 1957. He was later assassinated around about 1975 for some reason. Okay, and here's some more from Andrew Gabriel Roth himself, translator of this website. The text, the Aramaic text used to translate here on this website, the AramaicScriptures.com, is from Eastern Aramaic manuscripts such as the Cappadocia manuscript pictured above. Pictured there. Very ancient, very old copy. It being a handwritten Eastern Aramaic New Testament said to have been inscribed in the ancient city of Nineveh, and which is thought to have taken place sometime between 900 to 1000 AD. That's what he's assuming. Whereas in the previous video segment, I stated that Victor Alexander suggested 800 BCE. He's talking about the Old Testament. Sorry, yeah, this guy's talking about the New Testament. My apologies. Yeah, described in the ancient city of Nineveh, which is thought to have taken place sometime between 900 to 1000 AD, and said to have been officially certified by a bishop of the Holy Apostolic Catholic Church of the East, as being a faithful copy of a much older Eastern Aramaic New Testament manuscript, likely scribed during the mid-5th century, which in turn likely was itself a faithful copy of the original Aramaic New Testament scriptures, which was personally handed to the Church of the East by the apostles themselves in the ancient city of Edessa in the 1st century, where the original Assyrian-Aramaic, Lishana Artika, Lishana Supreya, of the Assyrian-Aramaic or Assyrian language, old scribal tongue, was compiled. The Cappadocia Codex manuscript you can read here and study on this website, AramaicScriptures.com. Via the study tool is thus most likely only a 3rd generational copy of the word of Allah, God, in the Aramaic language, which was given to the Church of the East with the very apostles of Meshika, Messiah, in the language in which Yeshua, and his disciples spoke, wrote, and proclaimed the hopeful message of God's redemption of mankind. So they wrote and spoke, and wrote in Greek. It's not in Greek, in Aramaic. Yeah, anyone that says it was in Greek are wrong. That's over there, mistake there. Slip up. The Cappadocia Codex manuscript you can read and study here, this website, AramaicScriptures.com. Via the study tool is the most likely only 3rd generational copy of the word of Allah in the Aramaic language, which was given to the Church of the East by the very apostles of Meshika, the Messiah, in the language in which Yeshua and his disciples spoke, wrote, and proclaimed the hopeful message of God's redemption of mankind. So it was not originally in Greek. It may have been copied into Koine Greek later. Okay. On this website, it is the Eastern Syriac Peshitta, not the Western Peshitta. The earliest such manuscript witness we have some knowledge of for the Aramaic New Testament is from as early as the year 78 AD, which is spoken about in J.S. Assamani's famous Bibliotheca, where it states, at Edessa was a written gospel, ancient but still legible, still readable. Not a single iota was erased, and it could more easily be read than many modern books, but by reason of its great age, the first 10 leaves had been lost. At the end was the following subscription. This sacred book was finished on Wednesday, the 18th day of the first month Conun, December, in the year 389 of the Greeks, i.e. 78 AD, by the hand of the apostle Archaeus, fellow labourer of Maris, and disciple of the apostle Ma'adaeus, whom we entreat to pray for us. Amen. The manuscript is said to have been seen in Baghdad, near the river Tigris, on an ancient church of the East altar. A number of Eastern Peshitta manuscripts have been examined for this translation, and he lists them. Okay. it states here, it should be pointed out that the Aramaic language is an older sister language of the Hebrew, a Semitic language of the Middle Eastern region of the world, which it is very close to in its construction, alphabet, and vocabulary. Well, what I discovered that native-born Mesopotamian Aramaic-speaking translator, filmmaker Victor N. Alexander found was that it's actually a derivative. Hebrew is a derivative of the ancient Aramaic, Assyrian-Aramaic, or Asher. Please note the Aramaic text is read from right to left like the Hebrew language. It talks about the interactive text, it talks about the study tool, translation, transliteration. Andrew Gabriel Ross states here, unlike most other English translations of the Aramaic scriptures, he decided to make a very literal and faithful rendering into the English language, which is not only a translation of the Aramaic words into English words, which mean the same thing, but also to give the actual Aramaic words themselves as they read in the Aramaic language and English letters, which is called transliterating. In this way, or for persons, places, and things which are the most often mentioned, you can become acquainted with the actual Aramaic words which are used and also see what they mean and break into portions just following the original words or phrases. These transliterated words are phonetically rendered into English characters in a simple way as Andrew Gabriel Roth would give. This transliteration is thus taught to help you learn the Aramaic language as you read through it. Okay. And it's rendered straight from the Eastern Aramaic New Testament manuscripts. No Greek or Latin sources have been used, and no Western Peshitta readings have been used. This English transliteration is as literal and faithful to the Aramaic source text as could be possibly made, while still being readable, understandable in the English language. Some Aramaic idioms, as the form of expression they use, the way they express what they've written, or what they're saying, what they've heard, while still the transliteration is as literal and faithful to the Aramaic source text as could possibly be, while still being readable and understandable in English language. Some Aramaic idioms are retained, while others which are not very understandable in English, which might alter the clear meaning of the text, are rendered in a dynamic equivalent translation, which gives the sense. So this, on this website, is translated from the Syriac, according to Aramaic translator Victor N. Alexander, the priest that he bought the original manuscripts from in the book or Bible format. So why he translated using the Syriac? Right? Because it's wrong. So Victor N. Alexander had to redo his translation work. So he finished the New Testament, but because of that he may not finish the Old. Right, he hoped that being past someone might pick it up where he left off and continue his work and finish it. Okay, some more information there. Okay, looking for someone to help get a good digital audio recording that matches the Eastern Peshitta. So if you can speak it, you can help him out. Okay, so that's two people there on this website testifying that it came from the original disciples of Christ, had been hidden and preserved for over 2,000 years. That's what N. Alexander was saying, hidden from the Roman Catholic Church and Islam, and not messed with, tampered with, as good as the day that they were given by the two original disciples, St. Thomas and Thaddeus, or Jude. So you can look at this example here, show you an example, what it looks like. It's translated into English. Okay. This is Matthew. Here's the Syriac font here. Okay. Right. And then here's the English, and he gives you the meaning of the word in Syriac. Okay. It's a genealogy, Christ, up until Christ. Okay. Yeshu Mashika. asking where is the Malka, the Yehudai, the king of the Judean Jews who has been born, for we saw his kupa star in the east, and we started the worship. Yeah. So yeah, it's got all the books of the New Testament. The only one I found he didn't translate, hasn't included by the looks of it, was the book of Revelations. Can't find it in here. Maybe he's done it elsewhere. So that's the Syriac Peshitta English by Andrew Gabriel, a Messianic Jew or Christian Jew translator, who got his supposed original versions from the original Church of the East. The same church, Apostolic Orthodox Catholic Church of the East, as Victor and Alexander got his. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Genesis 1 to 4, or Genesis, rather, or Genesis, Rita, or Bereshit in Hebrew, Genesis in English, and compare it with the modern Americanized versions, which apparently all translated from ancient Hebrew texts, but the scribes such as Luther, Tyndale, etc. deliberately corrupted it. Okay, and all these versions that you get today, they're available free, or you pay a little bit of money for them. They're all coming from the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, and their scribes throughout the centuries, being put out there by the American Bible Society along with their lives. Go and check the video, the American Bible Society and their lives. I'll leave a link to that video down the bottom. Easy for you. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to compare the modern versions with the so-called ancient original manuscripts from compiled in High Cappadocia around 800 BCE. There is a subtle difference, there is a vast difference, as you will come to realise. Okay, in your modern version, say NIV, it says in Genesis 1 verse 1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. But in the original manuscripts translated into English, or the original old scribal tongue, or sacred tongue, Lishana Atika, or Lishana Supriya, of the Assyrian-Aramaic or Asherid, as you can see here, Genesis 1, it states, as the beginning, the Son of God creates the heavens and the earth. Vastly different, right, from your modern version. Notice that it has a asterisk at the end of it. That's a sign to inform the reader that there's an important message, an important note that they should read at the bottom of this page, right, in the footnotes. So, as the beginning, the Son of God creates the heavens and the earth. Well, we know him as Jesus the Messiah, right? And the earth was for him and by him, and the darkness was over the face of infinite space. There was no time as we know it, at 24-hour clock. And the Spirit of God, or the Ruach HaKodesh, or Holy Spirit, was over the layers of the water, of the deep. So let's go have a look at the footnote below. And he's basically hinting at Genesis 1 verse 1, which we aforementioned. Compare it to John 1 verse 1 in his Aramaic New Testament translation of the Galilean Aramaic that supposedly Jesus and his disciples all spoke and wrote in. Wrote things down in the beginning of creation there was the manifestation, and that manifestation was with God, and God was the embodiment of that manifestation. So we'll have a look at that, see what it says in his Aramaic New Testament translation, which I have here, to clear that up. John 1 verse 1. Okay, and it reads as follows. Page 177 of the Aramaic New Testament of Disciples New Testament. In the beginning of creation there was the Milta, and that Milta was with Allah, and Allah was the embodiment of that Milta, as Genesis 1 verse 1 states. This was in the beginning with Allah. Everything was within his power, otherwise nothing would ever exist. Through him there was life, and life became the spark of humanity. Yeah, so it also has asterisks as a footnote, in case that there's something in the footnote that you should read. Have a look at that, see what it says. Footnotes 1.1. All instances. Literal Aramaic word retained. Manifestation. Milta is an Aramaic word that has been set aside for own sacred use. Only the Messiah, Joshua, E-A-O-S-H-O-A, he wrote it that way, I believe, I read, because Westerners cannot say it properly. Esau, Y-S-H-O, Y is double E, S-H-O, so it's Esau, the Assyrian-Aramaic, or Assyrian. Okay. Only the Messiah, Joshua or Esau, is ever to be called the Milta. Grammatically, Milta means the essential connotation for a personal thing. There is no true English language equivalent for this word. So that happens with the original language at times, so it has to find the closest equivalent to it in English. So you found manifestation. What does manifestation mean? Going to find it. I'll give you a heads up. It means something that was hidden, was never revealed. It's obviously revealed, no longer hidden when he is born God incarnate in flesh and walks amongst men as Jesus the Messiah. Okay, so what's embodiment? It's basically something that's representing something else, a higher ideal, or something else. Okay, in that case, he is the representation of God. He is God. Thereby it's verifying that he is the God, God incarnate in the flesh. God and he are the same, but they separate for a time, okay, and they come back together for a time if they have a plan or purpose to be fulfilled. Going to find the words manifestation, embodiment yourself. Okay. Don't put your trust in my definition. Okay. Do that for yourself. Okay. So, and God, who is God, the Son of God, said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light was beautiful, and God chose light over darkness. God called the light day, and darkness night. Okay, you've got to read this one very carefully, because it's very different from your modernized, Americanized copies of copies of copies of copies of copies of copy, okay, which are not from the original manuscripts. These are the original manuscripts here, in the original language, in the original scribal tongue. Sacred tongue. Okay, and God called the light day and the darkness night, and the evening and the morning became part of one cycle, the first eon. Okay? So we'll have a look at that footnote down below to see what he's trying to get across. Okay. Genesis 1:5-3. Literal Aramaic word, Yuma, eon, translated in English, immeasurable period, age or day, with a capital D. Why does it have a capital D? It's like a really weird form of day. Okay. Why? Because, go back up here, look at Genesis 1:14. And God said, "Let there be suns in the sky of heaven, so as to choose between the day and the night. They should serve for signs and wonders, for seasons and cycles and for years. And that they should glow in the sky of heaven, shine over the earth." And it was so. God created two great celestial bodies, greater ones who have authority over the day, and smaller ones who have authority over the night. And he created the stars and all the celestial bodies. And God gave them to the sky and heaven to shine over the earth, to have authority over the day and the night, and to impose the light over the darkness. And God saw that they were beautiful, and that was the evening and the morning of the fourth eon. Measurable period, age, eon, era, day with a capital D. Why do I keep stressing day with a capital D?